Hey everyone, um, welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, I'm sorry, I've just like when I got to the 7 seconds to go mark, I decided actually I don't like the way my screens are set up and started changing everything. So bear with me just a wee second. I'm just going to get this sorted. Um, let's see. Right, you can go there. How are we all doing anyway? Are we all doing okay? Um, You can go like that up there. Don't really need to see that so much, it's more that. Which means that you can go like that and like that. Right, everybody's happy now. Hi, welcome. Um, I was going to say I'll go down the list and say hi to who's here, but there's, there's only two of you, so um, there's maybe a delay in the notification getting out. I think we're a wee bit quieter usually on Mary after the group weeks. But I think maybe Ben is perhaps still live. I know Ben was doing a live earlier. I wasn't able to pop in because I had piano lesson and before that I was tutoring. So um, yeah, Thursdays are a busy day for me. So they are because I work on a Thursday as well. So um, yeah. Uh, Next is still waiting for my Marielle Tarot, but I'm going to watch anyway. Well, welcome. It's nice to see you, Nick. How are you? You doing all right? We've got the lovely Shauna from Six of Wands. Says hi all. Hey Shauna, how are you? Got Donna Riedler's here. Hey Donna. Um, and look, Kristen Louise is here as well. And Orla. Hey Orla. So how is everybody? How's everybody's week been? I'll give it maybe give it 5 minutes or so. And see if there's going to be more people that will turn up before I kick off with the slides. Um, I should probably get my tarot deck out too. That would help, wouldn't it? What's happening, guys? You're very quiet, but there's maybe a bit of a delay. I hope you can hear me okay. Hey, Deanne, how are you? Um, box, book the box. Probably don't need the box. Book, and that is the cards. What's the chat? Donna says, good news today. The other item that you did my reading about finally came through. Right, okay, and was it good? So Donna, I might have done something a wee bit cheeky. So see, you know how you messaged me through the week or you put a comment on one of my videos or something? But I think it was on last week's live. You commented saying bit of an update for you. So at that point I did another pull on I actually did a like a 8 card. I did like situation and then I did 3 for the first thing, 3 for the second thing, and an outcome card. And do you know what was funny? Now I used this deck, which is a wee bit different. You know, it's the Psychic Tarot. It's a 65 card deck. Um and a lot of the thingies are different, but the outcome was 16. It was like what would be the tower. It's called Disruption in this. And that was the same card that we got for the outcome in your reading. And I just thought that was really that that's been happening a lot to me lately. So as like Donna, no not Donna, sorry, it's Donna I'm talking to, Regina. So I was in one of Regina's lives a couple of weeks ago now, right? And she says I was sitting shuffling a deck. I was shuffling the bonfire tarot, and she says, "Does anyone want a reading?" And then, no, she asked me if I wanted a reading, and I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Go for it." And whilst because I was shuffling, I thought I'll pull cards at the same time and see see if we get different messages, same messages. 2 out of the 3 cards were the exact same in the exact same positions, and the middle card was different. But I got so did I get the 9 of wands and Regina got 10 of wands, or it was the other way about? Anyway, the point is I seem to be seeing a lot of, like, a lot of, what do you call that? I don't know, because my brain's complete mush and I don't really remember words anymore. Um, Coincidences, that kind of a thing. Kristen says just got the alert. Maybe people will start kind of coming in now. I'll stop yapping on, so I will. What we on now? We're on 8 minutes past. We'll give it another 2 minutes, see if we get a couple more people in, and then we can kick off. Um, so I saw Diane come in. Donna, you'd said about good news. So yeah, I just thought that was really kind of a freakish how I got the same outcome card, Donna. But see, you got the see for the one that you hadn't had yet, the news that you hadn't had yet, and I think it was like the first matter we had called it. I think you heard about matter two first. That, from what I remember, the reading that I got for that was you already know how that's going to go. You're kind of expecting it anyway. There aren't going to be any nasty surprises in there. Was the read that I got for that. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's come through and you said yeah, so you seem pretty happy about it. Shauna says, sorry, I was driving. That's quite all right. That can be allowed. Um, let's see, lots of hellos. Marie's back. Hi, Marie, how are you doing? Lovely to see you again. I see Donna says, interesting, Chris. I also seem to see lots of the same cards coming up over and over lately. Yeah, same. But yeah, the other thing was expected, but kind of delayed coming through. So it was a real relief that we finally got it, and within the 2 week time frame. Oh, that's good. Synchronicities. Thank you, Orla. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Right. Shall we then? Shall we kick off? So for anyone that doesn't know Marie, I hope it's okay for me to just kind of put you out there like that. I never really asked first. But Marie White is the creator of the Mariel Tarot, and Marie's here with us. Oh, I've lost you now, Marie. But you said hi, and I had to highlight it. Where did you go? There you are. So Marie's with us. So it is a real honour to have the creator of this tarot deck with us. So I just wanted to say that and let everybody know that Marie's here. Okay. Let me share the screen then. So we're going to the right-hand screen. Same kind of a start as always. The only thing that I really want to kind of focus on here is if anyone does have any different kind of a learning styles, learning abilities, any health conditions maybe that makes people learn differently. And if there's anything, as a result of that I can do to make this a better learning experience, then please let me know. Whether it's send you a copy of the slides, whether it's you want me to, I don't know, put it on a different backing, it has to be on a white backing for some people for them to be able to see it properly, maybe you want me to sing the words to you, I don't know, but if there's anything that I can reasonably do to kind of make this, as I say, a better learning experience, then please do shout out, or contact me privately or something. So again, we'll just kind of quickly touch on the elements, and these are taken, as I say, it says in red here, from page 187 of Landscapes of the Abyss. So fire, energy and movement, passion, desire, spirituality, the divine purpose of your life, career, goals, superconscious, and having to do with the soul. Element of air is knowledge, thoughts, ideas, logic, communication, words, free will, and consciousness, and having to do with the mind. Water is feelings and emotions, intuition, love, relationships, subconscious, and having to do with the heart. and earth, body and health, money, work, your home, your family, comfort, the real mundane world, harmonizing of the other three elements and having to do with the body and the physical environment. Okay, so that's the four elements, and then as always, I've brought in the kind of the major equivalents, if you want to call them that. So we're looking at 4 and 14 here. So I've got the emperor, which is described as father figure, benevolent leader, protector and provider, authority, master of your home, your house, your kingdom, self, environment, etc., in control and in command, order, limits, boundaries, stability, building, constructing, structuring, slow and wise expansion, management of an empire. And for temperance, we get moderation, self-constraint, self-restraint, balance of opposing forces, avoid extremes, choose the middle path, compromise, balance, patience, good temper, renewal of life strength, hope, and fertility, burst into life after death, rebirth after baptism. So I think I suppose what's maybe the common theme here is this aspect of control, of being in control, of harnessing the environment around about you, that type of thing. Um, the Emperor is all about kind of a controlling the chaos, controlling everything that the Empress is creating, ordering it, structuring it, giving it purpose, defining it, that kind of thing. Temperance, we see the control coming in more because of think of where temperance lies on the majors. So between death and the devil and the tower and that, it's kind of a like the calm in the middle of this big shitstorm, if you will. And also the other thing I always think with temperance, maybe more picturing more the Smith Waite, Pixies, Temperance and Star card. So if you think about Temperance and the Star in the Smith Waite, both quite similar when you think about it. They're both kind of a pouring water from vessels, but when you kind of take that out of it, it's like when you take that out of it, it's the temperance is much more kind of a controlled and restrained, clothed. The water's going from from one vessel into the other, whereas the star, completely naked. The water's just being poured into the ground and into the pond. Um, there's just a kind of a complete surrender that we see in the star card as compared to temperance. So we see that more kind of a controlled approach in the temperance card. So that's where I'm coming from with that. Okay. So let's go into the card. So we've got the Four of Wands. Okay. Now the trees, connection between the sun or the fire in the sky and the earth below. Okay, so you can see if we look at fire as being what fire represents, what we talked about in the last slide, it's our passion, and it's been grounded, it's been rooted into the earth. Um, the tree is described as the serpent, the Kundalini, rising up. So we see the serpent and the Three of Wands. It's rising up, and in the book it says to give the sun a big wet kiss and invite it down into her cold black space. Um, so the tree or the serpent extends up and it kind of harnesses the sun or the fire and it brings it down. The sun obliges and lights up the shaft as we see in the image here. The shaft here being like the snake or the tree, the emperor's sword. And it kind of makes it look like a giant torch. So we see energy, creativity, passion, sexual energy, enthusiasm, all being channeled and given form on the earth. Okay. So our passions, the things that matter to us, our creativity, we see that actually we make that real and as and part of our reality is what we're seeing happening here. Okay. So I've said here, the image calls to mind the golden age of Olympus. So one of the versions of the story of Prometheus, before Prometheus, before Zeus banned fire before he took it away from humans, and Prometheus had to steal it. Before that happened, the humans had access to fire, but it was basically they accessed it through climbing the trees. Through it was basically the treetops where it was, and the humans had to climb the trees to gain access to the fire in order to use it to heat themselves and to cook their food. Okay, so that's kind of what makes me think of that in a way. The tree here is the middle ground, so think temperance card, that kind of a middle way, that middle ground between fire and the earth. It separates the two, but it also allows access to allow fire to be wielded and channeled, like we talk about in the Emperor card. Which, oh, got one more. So we can also see this as a torch, which is a very kind of a very old world, very elementary challenge. Excuse me, very elementary channeling of fire. So stability of fire. So we're talking about channeling the elements. We're talking about being able to kind of control them and wield them. And the torch, a bit of wood that's on fire, was one of the first ways that humans were ever able to do that. So that's the symbolism on the cards. Let me have a quick look through the comments and see if I'm missing anyone. Um, but let me know what you think. If you've got anything to add to that, if you see anything different when you look at the card. I know that in the Zoom group that we had on Sunday, um, uh, look, people were really commenting on how kind of a scary this card potentially looks. You just see this kind of this this protrusion and all of this fire. This tree and all of this fire around about it. Looks quite chaotic. Um, okay, let's see. So people are saying hi to Marie. Let's see. Orla says, "I'd love you to sing." Donna says, "I think we need guitar accompaniment, Chris." Trust me, nobody wants to hear me singing. Um, see, hi Simon, how you doing? People saying hi. Okay, I'll move on, but if you've got anything to kind of if you get any thoughts, then please pop them in the chat and I will highlight them. Let's see. Okay, so bringing everything together, we're channeling fire here. We're yielding it or wielding it. I'm not sure which is the right word to use actually. I suppose both, but passion, creativity, sexual energy for creative and productive means. Okay, so we see a bridge between worlds, um, between elements here, between earth and fire. But access to resources is something that we see here as well. So in a reading, the fours are cards of stability. Each of them takes their element and gives it application. It grounds it. It creates something real with it. It makes it a part of reality. So here we see the querent taking their passion, their enthusiasm, and doing something with it to make a difference. They're going to feel fired up. It's going to be a time where they feel energized and really, really good about themselves, like they're on top of the world. Okay. So fire talks about the things that get us fired up, the things that make us feel important, filled with purpose, things that we'll tell stories about when we're older, our raison d'etre. The Four of Wands therefore shows a time when the querent is seeing their first successes in this project, in this passion project, in this enterprise. It's the first validation that makes them feel like, right, okay, yeah, I can do this. I'm good at this. You know, it's a time to celebrate and be proud of how far they've come. Something else that's important with the four is to remember that it is a four. Okay, it's not a 10. It's not the end. You're not even halfway. Okay, I think sometimes we get a bit ahead of ourselves. We get a bit carried away, and we think, oh, we get that first validation, and all of a sudden we think we know it all. So the 4 can be a wee bit of a reality check at that point. It's important to realise it's not the end goal. There's more to be done before the querent fully unlocks their potential. So just as it is important to look back and celebrate their success, it's also important to look to the future and keep on progressing, keep on growing. Okay. Um, okay. Oh, you did a live today, Shauna? I didn't. I don't even think that's popped up in my phone. If it has, I've probably been tutoring or something and I've not realised. Um, oh yeah, I see it. I see it. I see it indeed. Well, congrats. I'm looking forward to coming back and watching it. Okay. Oh, hey Daniel, by the way. You see lava cooling. Oh, okay. Okay, so you see something different from me. Didn't come up on my alerts, says Kristen. That would have been Shauna's live, yeah. Okay, right, onward. Heather says, what is Mary L study group? So the Mary L is a tarot deck, Heather. It's a tarot deck that's created by Marie White, who we are honoured to have in our midst. And this is, a get together to kind of a deep dive into it essentially. Break down the symbolism on the cards and um, just kind of a brainstorm what they mean and stuff. So yeah, that's what it is. Orla says it almost makes me feel small and dizzy to look at. It's a very powerful image. Maybe it makes me see the potential for things to get out of control if energy is not channeled or used productively. Okay. Um, Naturally occurring forest fires serve the purpose of clearing away the old to prepare for new growth, says Donna. Um, Okie dokes. So just as we saw fire being channeled down into the earth in the wands card, here we see the same thing with air. So the clouds are gathering in the sky and the lightning strikes down on the earth, fertilizing it. Okay. The lightning is referred to in the book as the semen of God, which is plunged down into the earth, making it fertile, awakening the soul. So we see the kind of the lightning here. I know in the second edition, the text, the words are kind of a here, so you don't see this bit as well. But this is basically, I think this is a representation of the temple of the high priestess, and we see the lightning basically being plunged down into that kind of that womb, that dark void that the high priestess represents. So other similar symbols are the bolt of Zeus, the testes of Uranus, fertilizing the sea, which then gives birth to Aphrodite, the phallus of Osiris, which fertilizes the Nile. I need to slow down and enunciate it properly. Um, so yeah, the mythology really likes its severed genitalia, doesn't it? So the book makes reference to the clouds shrouding the throne of the emperor. So we can look at that as being like the throne of God or of Zeus or of Odin. The air, our mind, our free will, our ability to think and communicate and problem solve is often referred to as the seat of the divine within us. It's what sets us apart. It's our soul or our conscience. Um, in the magician card, Marie makes a lot of reference to that Metatron's cube that has been handed to us, or the things that are being given to us on the table of the Smithwaite magician. These things are gift in life, and a lot of that is all about communication. It's their ability to kind of to have free will, to problem solve, to think, you know, and to what is it I'm trying to say? To come together, I guess, have discussions, have disagreements, have agreements, all of that kind of a thing, have debates about things. Um, all of this stuff is what part of, what makes us human, and it's our gift. Um, so it was just, quite nice and interesting to see the kind of a clouds as being like the throne of the divine, if you will. So here we see it take up practical application within the earth, okay? Our lives and our reality. So we see our ideas, our thoughts, we see them take up practical application. Birds, so we see four birds all kind of a flying, looks as though they're flying in order here, they're flying in unison. So birds are often used to symbolize the thoughts, the logical processes, our consciousness, and I guess the element of air itself. Um, Here we see them flying together in a group of four, suggesting organization of the thoughts, applying the mind to something in an organized way in order to understand it. Okay. So studying something, thinking about something, giving it due consideration. Um, that's something that we could see in that. Hey Jamie, how you doing? Let's see. Yeah, Donna says in regards to the lightning, they look like smokestacks to me. Yeah, so there's another thing that people saw in this is waterfalls. Some people see this as waterfalls. So it looks as though it's kind of a coming down the stream and then the water's coming down. So you can see different things. And another thing that we were talking about is the shapes and the stuff that we can see in the clouds. Um, like the crocodile. You can see a crocodile in the shape of the clouds here. You can see all different things really. And it's similar with the Four of Cups that we'll come on to. Um, right, we'll come on to it now because I think, Kristen says, I thought it was smoke coming out of smokestacks, chimney stacks. Yeah, I know what you mean. It does kind of have a bit of a factory look about it, doesn't it? Okay, so bringing everything together. The impact of air on Earth. So, given our thoughts and our ideas, life and our reality. Okay, we see fertilization as well, that lightning going down into the temple of the high priestess. We see planning, taking action to apply thoughts, ideas, and our brainchild, if you will, into reality. The idea of there being some kind of divine influence, something bigger at play. All right, sorry, let me shift the comment. In a reading, so it's a time for the querent to organise their thoughts and their plans, what they communicate to others. Can't seem to speak properly today. Perhaps the birds symbolise coming together with others and gathering ideas to come up with a plan. This maybe isn't a time for abstract, random ideas that have no basis in reality, no basis in real life. Um, it's a powerful opportunity where the claimant, so I'm not claimant, sorry, queer, that's a bit of my day job coming in, where the querent can have an impact on the world around about them purely by what they say and the ideas and the information that they communicate. Okay. So quite a powerful time for the querent from an intellectual point of view. And it's one of those situations where with great power comes great responsibility, because when you have that kind of influence, when you have that kind of impact, you know, it can be used for good, but it can also be used for bad, for negativity, for evil. So it's the kind of thing that we just kind of we need to be conscious of. So the querent should think about the effects or consequences of what they say next, because once the lightning has struck, excuse me, the earth has changed. It's important to plan and organize ideas coherently and speak from a place of truth, and purpose. So I was bringing in the kind of a colours that we see in the chakras. So, we have the sky that's blue, which corresponds to the throat chakra, speaking your truth. And the down below is green, the green grass for the heart chakra. So we have to kind of come from a place of love and respect. We have to kind of think about those around us and think about not just what the message that we want to put across is, but how is that message going to be received? Okay, so that's us for the Four of Swords. Any more thoughts on that at all? And whilst I'm uh, hey, uh, have in mind if you've got questions, because remember, second part of this, we'll put questions to the cards. We'll pull some cards, and as much as it's not crucial, it's nice when we've got like a question for each card or thereabouts. Um, so, and it is much better doing it with real questions rather than with like kind of a sample questions that I've made up. I think we've kind of proven that. The proof is in the pudding there. So if you've got any questions that you're thinking are, the theme of the question is in line with the theme of one of the cards that we're looking at, or with, what you understand to be like the four of whatever, then, keep it in the back of your mind or type it out on a Word document or, have it somewhere. And when we come to doing questions, well, we can try and answer your question. Okay. Um, Alrighty. So Kristen says in Norse mythology, birds are the deliverers of messages. Yeah. Um, yeah, absolutely. And I suppose like communication and words are themes of the air element. So that does make sense. Okay, then on to the Four of Cups. And before I forget, so you can kind of see if you look at them closely. Oh no, you're not. You're still seeing me. I'm glad I realised that. Um, if you look at this closely, you can kind of see, like I see a face here. This looks like an eye to me, and this looks like a mouth. So you can kind of see a face around about here. Other people were talking about seeing like a face. It was somewhere up here. So it was. I think this was the mouth. And you've got like what the eyes or something in the brow. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's lots of different kind of things that you can see in the waters and the clouds and stuff. Um, so yeah, anyway, the ocean, a symbol of the unconscious. The beach is, a liminal is the liminal space between the ocean and the earth, between our unconscious and our conscious reality. So the waves crashing into the shore. So like the channel being channeled through, sorry, the fire being channeled through the tree or the lightning impacting the temple. Here we see the element of water interacting with the earth. So we see our unconscious interacting with our conscious through its agents, subtly but powerfully shaping our reality. And the shell represents an agent of the unconscious. It's a messenger of the unconscious. It's a dream or it's an emotion, a feeling, an intuition, an intuitive hit, a vision, any one of these kind of a things, an instinct. Um, so the shell, if you think about that shell, it could quite easily be walked past. You could quite easily take it for granted, take it lightly. Just as we might not always appreciate the value of our dreams, of our feelings, of our emotions, etc. Um, we might ignore our subconscious or our unconscious and think that it has little or no relevance to our conscious lives, you know. Um, However, when we look closely at the shell, or not look closely, but when we think more about it, we see the beauty and the intricacy of its pattern. We think about how remarkable it is that nature has created something, slowly but surely, layer upon layer. Um, is quite remarkable. Just as it is with our unconscious, it's subtle but powerful ability to shape who we are, to influence our choices and our actions through time and patience, like the ocean eroding the rocks or building the shell. We have to tend to our emotions. Okay. Hey Justin, how you doing? Donna says it seems like all those clouds might prevent the message or the birds from getting through. Clouds are made of water, so our emotions might be preventing us from thinking clearly. Oh, I like that. Yeah, definitely. Kristen says, I was just at the beach in Mexico. The tide was rough. It's good to keep in mind how rough it can be when we confront our subconscious. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so bringing everything together. So our unconscious is effect on our world. The impact that our dreams, our feelings, our emotions, our gut instincts, and our visions can have on us and how they apply to our real lives. The virtue of acting with patience and appreciating the slow but steady progress, a gift which needs to be appreciated. Okay, and that's the shell. The shell equivalent to like the fourth cup of the in the Smith Waite Tarot. Hi Paula, says thank you for doing. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you very much for popping in and thanks for saying hi. Okay, Anna reading. So the querent's unconscious has been grounded in reality here in the form of a dream, an emotion, an instinct, etc. So the querent should be mindful of these things because as much as they might seem passive or they might seem unimportant, over time they can accumulate into something amazing or something terrible. Okay, depending on which way it goes and how we tend to our emotions. In that respect, the shell compares to the fourth cup from Pixie's Four of Cups. What's nice is here we don't just see a random hand, disembodied hand holding out the fourth cup, you know. We don't just see the deceptively inconspicuous shell. We see the the forceful and the powerful ocean behind it. So we're seeing that representation of the unconscious and how powerful and how terrible it can be. Okay. Um, so the querent might find themselves facing a task that requires time and patience. It might be a task where, like, just pure sudden force is not going to get the job done. Okay. There might also be an offering or a gift around about the querent at this time, and it's maybe not going to be completely obvious. It's not going to walk up and smack them over the face. It's something that they're going to have to be looking out for, and they're going to have to do work to realize its true potential and its true value. Okay. All right then. Okay, so just it's not as late as me, Jamie, though to be fair, I was lurking. Um just lots of hellos, isn't it? That's fine. I can move on to the Four of Discs, but if you do have any thoughts to share on the Four of Cups, then please pop them in the chat and I'll highlight them. Okay, so finally we have our Four of Discs. Oh, before we do that, Donna says when you hold a shell up to your ear, you can hear the ocean. What you're actually hearing is the magnified sound of air molecules bumping against each other. That's pretty cool. I knew that when you hold the shell up to your ear, you can hear the ocean, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why that was. Okay. So the fours have all been about manifesting the element on Earth, making it relevant to your reality. Here we have the Four of Discs, so the element of Earth itself, which is our reality. So it's the physical world around about us that things are made real in. Here we see the Earth itself in the form of the mountains and the valley, and we see the path that it creates for us, and we get a real sense of power of the element of Earth here. In fact, when you look at the fours altogether, um, you really kind of appreciate the power of the elements from them. Um, the star, so the path, so we see this path kind of leading us forwards, and it's leading us on to kind of where the star is. The path is taking us towards the star in the sky. It guides us towards our destiny, towards self fulfillment, enlightenment, if you will. The path is our life's path. It's like Asteriion's journey again, taking it back to the Ace of Discs. Think about Asterion, the Minotaur, and the Labyrinth. The path that the Earth is creating for us, is our life's path. It's our journey out of the labyrinth. And the star, I guess, is that exit point. So we see this house and up in the cliffs and the mountains, represents our safe space, our comfort zone, our home, is a major factor in our life stability. Okay, so home, not a house. Where the place that we call home, um, to a lot of us, it's a big part of what makes us feel safe, just and grounded in life in general. All of the elements together as one. Um, Hang on, I need to read that again. Oh yeah, so all of the elements together as one. That should be highlighted. That should be a title. So Marie says many times throughout landscapes that the element of earth um, is basically all of the other three elements are brought together and manifested in the element of earth. And we do see that represented here. So we see the trees for the element of fire. Think about, the suit of wands so far. There's a lot of trees representing the element. Um, we see, the water, the valley, or even the star is compared to the seashell. And we also see the air. So we see the clouds. We see the air all around about. So all three of the elements are coming together here and forming a reality. The shell and the star being the same is kind of like as above and so below. So Marie writes that the heavens are within. So that divine that we've been worshipping, that kind of that man in the sky, or that the gods that we look to, divinity itself, it's within all of us, within the collective unconscious. And I think that's it. So has anyone got any thoughts on the symbolism that we see in the Four of Discs? Donna says, so pay attention, that little shell might contain an important message. Justin says, the seashell makes me think of my dad. He always told me to listen for the ocean. Oh, that's really sweet. Orla says, that's awesome. I'm only now wondering why I've never questioned that it wasn't actually the ocean that I was hearing. Justin says, Chris, I just read a book that you might love. It's called The Song of Achilles. Such a beautiful story. I'll look it up. Simon says, sorry, I was listening and not looking at the chat. By the way, the Keymaster came. Oh, nice. Donna says, that is definitely a well fortified place, but building it must have been a risky venture. Yeah, I know. I know. Kristen, there's probably some symbolism in the sedimentary rock and the mountain, but I can't think of one right now. Yeah, and and these. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna. I'll start seeing faces on that as well. Okay. So putting it all together, we've got our physical world around about us, in which we live out our everyday lives, our safe space, our comfort zone, our house and home, the physical manifestation of our passions, our thoughts, and our feelings. In a reading, so Marie's said a few times that the fours are associated to earth, so you get your four elements, your four directions, etc. Hence why each of the fours is showing the element being yielded and or wielded, I think that should be, and made relevant to reality. The Four of Discs is therefore doubly a card of earth and stability. This card could therefore have the effect of bringing stability and order, management, or handleability to whatever cards are happening around about. Um, so, for example, if you're pulling cards and you're seeing like such like cards coming up like the I don't know, like the tower, that kind of a thing, the Ten of Swords. You're seeing all that kind of a stuff coming up, suggesting that we're going through a volatile time. If the outcome is the four of discs, then that might suggest that the querent can take stock in the fact that things do seem to be righting themselves. They do seem to be kind of a steadying out after a bit of time. Okay. Um, The house up in the hills calls to mind the classic four of earth interpretation of physical security and safety. So this could indicate a time where the querent is healthy and or secure, or maybe where health, safety, security, and home are aspects that they should be focusing on. The coming together of the elements within the physical observable world suggests that the querent might be seeing the effects of what they've worked hard to create and build. They're seeing it manifest in the world around about them, and their task is to manage and refine it. Okay. Kristen says the house. In fact, I can bring it back to my face now, can't I? Hey, the house reminds me of some of the the monasteries that exist in Eastern Orthodoxy, where they build them into the side of the mountain. Donna says, yeah, it's built on all those layers that formed over eons. Simon says, "Oh, talking about the Keymaster, the card stock isn't the best, but apart from that, I love it." And Kristen says, "Yeah, there must be some symbolism there." Um, Gushing over card stock. Kristen says, two mountains, the path that leads to the unsettled mountain, not the one with the settlement. AGM. So Donna says the house is secure, but there's no room for expansion. For that one would need to relocate. Right, okay, yeah, there's no room for expansion, there's no room for, um, well, I suppose maybe behind it, maybe? Although the mountain seems to go up behind it. Orla says the height of the house also makes it closely aligned to the star. Yeah, yeah, true. Kristen says, got to run all. You have a good evening, everyone. Okay. So we've come on to kind of that. So that's us done with the slides. Come on to the second part of the live where we can put questions to the cards and try and kind of just just rearrange a wee bit. But yeah, just try and apply what the stuff that we've learned. So if anyone's got any questions for the cards, particularly any that maybe fit in with the theme of the cards that we've been looking at, then please pop them in the chat. Either tag me at Elemental Cartomancy or stick them in capital letters, and I will. Whoops! I'll highlight them and we can look at them. And whilst you're thinking of questions, I'm going to set up the camera. Oh, hang on. Actually, you're going to have to bear with me a wee second. In fact, you know what we're going to do? As much as I know people hate it, I'm going to do the countdown to give myself some time to set things up, all right? So I'll be back with you in 30 seconds. Hey, right, okay. I'll try and get this sorted on there before. So that should do this. Whoops. Shift my keyboard. That should be plenty of space. Sorted. Right, let me just give the camera a quick clean and then we'll be good to go. Okay, papers by the Kristen. Maybe it's not a house or lab, but an observatory. Okay. Tammy Pie says, "Did I miss the whole thing?" You've missed the slides, Tammy Pie, but if you ever want a copy of any of the slides, I can send you them all. If if you wanted them, just email me, and that way I can respond and give you a copy of the slides. Why does this keep happening to me? What did I want to do? I wanted just open it up the remote so as that I can just slightly change the light settings. I think I can make it a bit. Might be a bit better. We can play it by ear and see how we get on. Probably doesn't help that I've got that like that. Okay. Hey, I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, Donna's coming to my rescue. Donna says, "How can I create a sense of stability in the midst of a period of lots of changes?" Okay. So Donna, which four card are you thinking for that? Are we thinking emotional stability? Are we thinking mental stability? Are we talking like physical or like kind of financial stability? Like what card do you think um what card is it that best suits, the sense of stability that you're wanting to create for yourself? Or is it just all of the above maybe? Cable here right in front of the screen. That's not very good. I think emotional, I need to have a feeling of stability even though lots of stuff happening around about me is changing. Okay. So lots of things around about you are changing and you're looking to just kind of you're wanting to know how you can create a sense of emotional stability and amongst all that change. Okay. So how can Donna create a sense of emotional stability and amongst all of the changes that are happening? Something that we can actually do, by the way. So when you say emotional stability right away, I'm thinking um, cups, the Four of Cups. But something that we can do, and something that we did during the Zoom with one of the people that asked a question, was we started out pulling one of the fours, and then we went and got another one of them. Um, so we did the usual exercise, but we did basically did a six card reading and did it with two of the different fours. And I'm thinking since we're not kind of overflowing with questions yet, we could maybe do that, Donna. So we could maybe look at the four of cups and the four of swords, because to me, and you can let me know if what you think, but to me, creating emotional stability and creating that mental space for yourself, that psychological stability, they kind of come hand in hand. The kind of a head and the heart need to be aligned. So that's something that we could do. So first of all, anyway, let's look for our oh there it is. Okay, and I will find. Okay, so firstly, look at the Emperor. So the major four card, the Four of Cups, and the Five of Discs. So it's quite cute. It's quite nice here how he's pointing at his heart, and we're asking a question about you know just feeling stable in yourself, feeling secure, feeling emotionally stable. Um, I think quite often the Five of Discs comes up at a time when we're questioning the value of things. We're questioning how we assign value to things. And quite often he's asking us to change our mind. He's asking us to think about perhaps not placing so much value on physical stuff, more, the emotional stuff, the stuff within us. There's more value in human beings and being human. There's more value in our emotions than perhaps what there is in, owning fancy things and having lots of money and that kind of a thing. And that can be a tough lesson. That lesson quite often comes at a time when we are experiencing, material hardship. Um, but we see this kind of he's pointing to this paradise in his heart that's kind of a contained in the Ouroboros. Um, so he's basically telling you that the paradise is within, and that's where you're going to find that stability. That's where you're going to find that kind of that safe space. It's that paradise within you. Okay. And the Emperor, I guess, is just like, I suppose, the key to kind of getting yourself there. It is harnessing it's kind of a reconciling all the different parts of yourself and giving them all their due place, and their value. Okay, so we have like the fireflies. Okay, we have the element of fire. We have the things that we're passionate about. The swords, for the element of air, and the birds in the air around about them. We have the water. The blue gemstone in the hilt of the sword. And we have like the pentacle and the Malkut, um, for the earth. So we see the emperor kind of bringing everything together and wielding all of the elements. He brings them all and makes them all part of his reality, and that really seems to be part of the key here. Um, it's bringing order not just to the physical world around about us, but to our own desires, our thoughts and ideas, our emotions, giving them their place, giving them their day. Like just stopping and thinking to yourself, right, what am I actually feeling here? How do I feel about this? And how does it make me feel in my own physical self, you know? Um, so yeah, it's quite it's quite a nice wee reading actually, so it is. I'll see what you guys think if you've got any thoughts, and then I'll turn over the swords cards or the cards for the four of swords. Justin says, I just received the Darkwood Tarot from a trade. It's not my usual taste, but I'm looking forward to the book. Uh, right, okay. Send you a Clyde in a bit. Um, Interesting cards. Donna says, it makes me think home is where the heart is. Um, and asking, are those fish on the swords? Yeah, on they are. Because I think the tail that goes with this card is the wounded fisherman or the wounded I forget, is it Percival? Um, the Fisher King. That's it. The wounded Fisher King. Um, so yeah, we do we see the fish there as well. Yeah, it's funny actually. See when you point that out, it almost looks like the Emperor's fishing, doesn't it? It looks like he's got a fishing rod there rather than a sword, and it looks like he's going to go fishing into this kind of a torrential storm. That these waves, these powerful waves. Um, So what could be the lesson in that then? Is it like, although it might seem bleak, although it might seem like you don't stand a chance, like have confidence in yourself and your own abilities and go for it nonetheless? Is it that kind of a thing? Don't be afraid to confront these these choppy waters that represent our less stable emotions, you know. But obviously bearing in mind what I think it was Kristen that said early on, like confronting your confronting your subconscious can be a pretty daunting and a pretty scary thing to do. So obviously just kind of bearing that in mind. Um, yeah, you said it's interesting to see with the Four of Cups card. So that's some stuff to think about there. Now let's add in the swords, the Four of Swords. So we have the Four of Swords in the middle. Put that there. And then we have the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands. Okay. So we've got two eight cards, which eights are kind of like this to me anyway. The way I look at them is it's this kind of a lovely, juicy combination of stability and momentum. It's quite paradoxical, really, but it's kind of like imagine it as you're swimming in a pool. Your momentum, your movement, your speed is, it's higher. It's more powerful the more stable your kickoff board is. So the more stable the point that you're kicking off from, the more stable the foundations that you've created for yourself, the more momentum you create. So that's the way that I look at the eights, and it's kind of a, like the relationship between those two things. Um, Here we see we see the child that's draped and the Nemean lion coat. Okay, so we get this element of protection and stuff. We get this element of triumph, I suppose, which is what the coat of the Nemean lion was. It was a trophy that Hercules took or Heracles took when he killed the lion when it was one of his labors. Um, and when you think about, the labors of Heracles, it's very much an Eight of Cups type scenario, whereas where we're normally seeing the person going off, here we're kind of seeing the result of that journey that that person's going on. And it's nice. You notice how we don't see, the warrior, the big tough manly warrior coming home from battle or coming from the labors. We see the innocence of the child, you know. Um, Here we get an element of protection as well. So I guess the way that we kind of stabilize things mentally, there's a lot about protection here. And you can see we talked about the clouds as concealing the throne of the emperor. Um, so I think I'm going to take my glasses off actually, guys, because they're starting to hurt me. So yeah, there's definitely a kind of a sense of protection, of looking after yourself. We've got a wee fly there that wants to read with us. That's fine. Um, and yeah, like water and fire as well, So like these two opposite elements that are bookending our four of swords. So again, I guess it's about reconciling those different parts of yourself, those different aspects, and just making sure that we're protected when we need to be, but we're also protecting those around about us. Let me see what your thoughts are. So you said it's like he's going to try and pull nourishment out of that chaotic ocean. Orla says that the Emperor looks so calm and centered. And Donna points out that we've got two lion cards. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite a cool reading, really. We've got these. Obviously, we have the fours. We had the Emperor show up as well, and we've got the two eights as well, which are like double fours. So they're yeah, it's a nice reading. And you look at the power behind that this lion, and then you look at or behind this card, and then you look at the kind of innocence behind this one. You know. Um, so yeah, you've said that you're Leo with Cancer Moon and Rising. So lions, fire, and water. Oh, okay. So, does anyone get any other thoughts on any of the cards that we've pulled here on the reading in general? It looks like I'll be able to create a mental safe space when I need it. Absolutely. I think that you've very much got the ability to create this environment for yourself. Um, Another thing as well, like we can see like in both of these cards, we see aspects of like the animal self, the instinctual self, and maybe the child self or the inner child or the human self. We see this kind of a swap in roles. So here it's the child self or I'm saying the inner child or the human self, that's awake and conscious and that's in control, that's cradling the coat of the lion, which is obviously it's dead and we only see its coat. Over here, however, we see, the human aspect appears to be sleeping and the animal aspect has really been let loose. So we get this kind of a reverse in roles. So you could look at this a bit and think of the strength card. I know in this deck strength is 11, but think of the message of the strength card. It's this kind of a um this constant kind of a balance between your kind of a sensible, responsible self and your inner animal, your instincts, your selfless, um, and outward looking self, and the lion which represents the kind of the selfish or the part of us that wants to be the star, you know. And it's about kind of a reconciling, it's about finding the balance between those two. And here, in order to achieve that mental stability, do you see how we see the animal self being given a bit of control? So maybe you're not kind of a, you know, you're not giving yourself the attention that you deserve. You're not being selfish enough, and you need to kind of focus on yourself a bit more. And you need to give yourself credit where it's due. I'm just looking at me up in the corner. I have got like a funny colour, so I have. I think it's don't know if it's since I took my glasses off, just the way the light's hitting me. Don't know if that's made a difference. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Um, Shauna says I'm really digging these two spreads together. Yeah, they're nice, aren't they? Definitely. Okay. Alrighty. So we've got one more question from Orla. Is it sensible or financially wise to think about moving home soon? If anyone's got any more thoughts on Donna's reading, by the way, then just pop them in the chat, and I will try and highlight your comment. So, is it sensible or financially wise? Start thinking about moving home soon. So it's funny because with the last two, the cards that sprung to mind were the air and the water, the mind and the emotions. Here, I'm actually thinking more so because we're talking about flux, we're talking about things changing, we're talking about, upping and changing location. I'm thinking wands because of that kind of the change aspect to it, the action and the movement. But also because we're looking at whether it's financially wise to do so, we're questioning you know, the the material stability of our situation should we do that. I'm also thinking earth, thinking discs. So we could do something similar for Orla is what we just did for Donna, where we pull the cards around the Four of Wands and then the Four of Discs. Unless Orla, you had a different idea, you can let me know what you think if you think that sounds okay. Is it financially wise or sensible to think about moving home soon? So you're happy to do it that way? Okay. So I'm just looking for the relevant cards just now. There's one. Oh, I must have passed the 4 of discs. Let's try that again, shall we? It's there. Okay. So let's look at the 4 of Wands first. So we have the 6 of discs, the 4 of Wands, and the 9 of Swords. Let me just align them. Okay, so what are our thoughts on that? Okay, so the 6 of discs, we often see that as a card about kind of a balance. Um, it's financial transactions is what we quite often think about. 6 of discs here, we see the angel Gabriel. We It's quite a different representation that we see here. Let's kind of just look at some of the symbolism that we see. So Gabriel, well, herself, she's depicted here as female. But we also have the kind of a depicted as a snake. So very kind of a phallic representation. So we see that balance of perhaps male and female. Um, see the lamp here. So it's like rubbing the lamp. So you get that idea of, something that you've wished for, something that you've wanted. And we see the kind of a fire coming from the lamp. Okay. And I think in the book that's kind of um, it's the fire, the energy that's created when the lovers, when they combine, when they have sex, when when they come together. Um, if you look in the background, actually, we kind of see the 2 trees. We see the tree of life and we see the tree of knowledge in the background there. So that's quite cool. And then Gabriel's obviously depicted with all these wings. We see the lilies as well. I think Gabriel's often depicted as kind of holding lilies. Um, so Gabriel was like the bearer of God's messages, the messenger of God. It was Gabriel, I think, that told um, Mary that she was having the child. Um, so it's Gabriel that foretells of you know God's presence on earth, of things becoming physical on earth. All right. Um, so in this, we see this kind of a beautifully balanced individual. We see, you know, some sort of wish or desire coming true with perhaps with the lamp, and we're in the Garden of Eden, with the 2 trees behind. Again, we've got balance between life and knowledge. Um, so we really get the idea of balance being important here. Even I think these are lilies. I'm not sure. Maybe they're different flowers, but it doesn't matter because the point in them is you can really see like the kind of the stamen and the stigma, and quite often lilies are regarded as a symbol of maturity and sex because you can see the different aspects of them, the mature aspects of them. Um, So yeah, there's a real kind of a balanced feel from this. Obviously, we've got our Four of Wands in the middle, which is the kind of a subject matter that we're looking at. We're looking at change, like the prospect of moving house, of upping and moving. And then we have the Nine of Swords on the other side. So we see a real paradise in this Nine of Swords. Let me just kind of hold it up for you. It's different from pretty much any other Nine of Swords that we're likely to come across. Um, we do see the kind of a two towers. So we're getting that kind of a reconciling of opposites. We see the waves crashing here. We see the kind of a mountains here, and then we see this kind of a this to me I've probably said this before and becoming like a broken record, but the Nine of Swords is it's a powerful mental force. We can kind of it can go either way, you know. We often see it depicted as the kind of a negative implications, which is the the nightmares, the anxiety, the you know all of the stuff we would normally associate with, like for example, the Smith-Waite Nine of Swords. But equally, we can take that mental force, that mental power, and apply it um, in a positive way, and really create something amazing out of it. So everything here is saying balance. It's a balancing act. You're going to have to look at all of the aspects, you know, and you're going to have to accept that there's going to, if you do choose to uproot and to move, there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times. There's going to be times when you feel as though you're on top of the world, and there's going to be times when you maybe feel like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I choose to do this? I think that's just the nature of the beast, really. And I think that it's about kind of just reconciling that. Um, feels I'm talking too much, so let's see. So the Four of Wands card intimidates me. The Four of Discs card makes me think safe and at home. Okay, okay. So that's interesting because to me the Four of Wands is the fiery card. It's the card about that's injecting energy into the situation. It's injecting change and flux into the situation. Okay. Um, if you've got on one hand moving house and on the other hand not moving house, to me the cards, if we were choosing from these, it would be like the Four of Wands would be the the force that we would kind of inject, the force that we would apply to the situation to make you move house. The Four of Discs, however, would be the kind of the force that would stop you. So it's kind of like the unstoppable force and the immovable object and the Four of Discs. Um, so it's interesting that you're more drawn to the Four of Discs. So maybe that answers your question better than any of the rest of the card pool can. But let's see. So you said, is that a pyramid behind the trees as well? Yeah, it kind of looks like that, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks like a pyramid. I'm not really sure what that would represent. Um, but yeah, what's interesting here as well, excuse me, is we see this fiery energy being given off in the six, and then the four is all about controlling and wielding that fire. It kind of brings the fire down within it. The fire kind of comes from the sky and it travels down the tree. So it's almost like we're taking that fire that's been created, and we're channeling it with the Four of Wands. Um, and I suppose this is the result. This is what we create. And like I said, the Nine of Swords really has that either or potential. The lilies make me think of the Rider Waite Smith magician. So having what is needed for manifestation. Also, the lamp conjures or manifests one's desires. Yeah. Right. let's maybe look at the Four of Discs. Oops, upside down. So we have the Queen of Cups, Four of Discs, and the Five of Wands. So let's just remind ourselves of what the question was. Is it sensible or financially wise to think about moving home soon? Okay. So the fact that the Five of Wands is turning up beside the Four of Discs, it suggests to me that a moving house might bring about some difficulties, some challenges. Of course, it naturally will. Um, we it's interesting. We had we had this fire and the and the Six of Discs. We had this very fiery representation here, and we kind of have the sun here and the nine, but then we have the fiery aura of the lion, and then the trees as well, which represent the element of fire in the Five of Wands. But the Five of Wands, quite often, what's happening there is there's too much fire. There's too much going on, and do you see how it's kind of the line struggling to break through? Its aura is becoming quite murkied by by the obstacles on its path. Um, and it's really having to kind of call on all its energy in order to move through. So it suggests that, you know, if you were to choose to move or to think about moving just now, it's not going to be without challenge. There are going to be challenges, there are going to be difficulties. Um, Queen of Cups, however, what she's saying, so she's like the opposite of these kind of a cards. She's like the pure watery force. So she's that kind of a emotional maturity. Um, and she kind of creates that emotional safe space for us. Okay, Queen of Cups is that kind of a space or that kind of a person who we can always go to and be totally honest about how we feel. Okay, and she'll always encourage us to kind of be upfront and get things off her chest and that kind of a thing. Okay, so if Orla, you do decide that I'm going to do this, this is the right step for me. I think that this it's important that you create this space for yourself. The Queen of Cups is important because it's as much as the element is water. It's very much the grounding force in this reading. You know, it's the thing that's going to kind of control all of this fire. So all of this flux, all of this change, all of this kind of all of these things that are up in the air. This Queen, um, that emotional safe space, that communication is what's going to kind of just bring everything to center. And you see how the Queen is a very kind of it's a very centered card, very symmetrical with the way the face is drawn. Um, and we see the petals, the crab holding the petals as well. So yeah, what's everyone's thoughts? So yeah, I think you're onto something there. Maybe my gut reaction to the cards is quite telling as to where the answer lies. Donna says the Queen has a Cancerian crab, which is a symbol of strong emotional attachment. Right, okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that. The lilies really stood out to me too, says Orla to Donna. It sounds like you might feel too attached to your current home to think about moving just now, Orla, says Donna. Potentially. Yeah. I mean, I think financially it does. The reading would suggest that things would financially perhaps be quite difficult if you were to choose to move. Um, when we look at the difficulties and the conflict that we see in the Five of Wands, but also when we look at the Queen, she's a creature of the water. She's kind of a foregone all of those material attachments. Um, we see the perils here, but I mean it's the crab that's hanging on to them. It's not the Queen. The Queen doesn't. It looks as though she might be kind of a naked. Um, so she doesn't really have any material attachments. So that suggests that potentially, um, from a financial point of view, things might be quite tight, quite scarce, quite difficult for a time. Any more thoughts on any of those cards? Oh, so that's us pretty much covered everything. So unless anyone else has a question that they want to ask, or yeah, anything else that they want to chat about, then we can call it a day there. Um, if you get any more comments on the reading, then pop them in the comment just now, and I'll highlight them before we finish up. Um, for next month, let me just whilst I've got you here, let me check out when next month's Mariel group will be. Let's see, calendar. So next month we'll be doing this on Thursday the 28th, and for the Zoom it'll be Sunday the 24th. So Thursday the 28th for the YouTube live, and Sunday the 24th for the Zoom. So if anyone wants to come to either or both, then you're more than welcome. So Shauna says thanks. Tammy Pie says that Five of Wands is a push card. Do you need to go for some reason? Orla says I'm perhaps more attached than I'd like to admit. Food for thought for sure. Or maybe these are pearls of wisdom, says Donna. Paula says, I enjoyed this very much. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Paula. Feel free to, to comment away, if you're here next month, feel free to join in and if you feel like it, or to pop a wee question in if you want us to pull some cards for you anytime. Um, Listen, thanks. It's been great to learn and observe more. I'm so excited for the deck to arrive. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think about it, and when you've looked through it yourself, Nick, and how you get on working with it. So for anyone who's like kind of a not been following not been following this series for since the beginning, um, if anyone wants a copy of the slides that we've done so far, I'm more than happy to send them to anyone that would want a copy. Um, Probably the easiest thing to do is to send me an email. It's elementalcartomancy@gmail.com. So pretty easy to remember. It's just the channel name, all one word, at gmail.com. If you send me an email and let me know that you'd like a copy of the slides, then I can respond with a copy of them. Um, Paula says, do we need an invite for the Zoom? Yeah, but I can. So if you're in the Barely Balanced Tarot group, then I normally post it in there I'll normally put a link to the Zoom in there. Um, Otherwise, if you email me or if you message me on Instagram, if you've got me on Instagram, it's just at Elemental Cartomancy. Um, then I'll send you a copy of the link, and it's always the same one that we use. So once you've got it, you're sorted for the rest of it. Um, so yeah, um, we'd love to have you there. We've got a really nice wee group on the Zoom, so we have. So it'd be lovely to have some more people to come along, I think. Okay. Orla, brilliant session as always. So grateful for the time and energy that you've given. You're so welcome. Thank you so much for your lovely comments and for, your participation and for, for bringing your question and stuff. I really do appreciate it. It makes this, um, I think the questions make it a much more kind of a worthwhile exercise, the pulling the card stuff. Um, There's Mr. Ben. He says, wanted to pop on and say hi. Hope you're okay. I'm doing okay, Ben. Thank you. I hope you are as well. Okay, guys. Well, that's us. So that's us done and dusted for tonight. I'm going to love yous and leave yous. I hope that everyone has an amazing weekend. Like I say, if you either are interested in the Zoom or if you're wanting a copy of any of the slides, then please email me at elementalcartomancy@gmail.com and I will be happy to send that stuff over to you. Okay. Take care, guys, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.